There is an object hidden in the sky. Our predecessors studied its appearances. Like a vast clockwork apparatus, it appeared on a fixed timeline and disappeared whole civilizations. They have left us records of this invisible eye in the sky and how they hid underground from its face. They feared the return of the Phoenix. Hello, hello. Let's get that audio check done. Chose a real hot topic. Gonna push the envelope today, but I'm also gonna go ahead and rivet the nails on this coffin. I've been avoiding it for a long time. I got some good buddies and friends that are in the field. They're on social media. They're putting out stuff that, I just totally disagree with. That doesn't mean I'm gonna be quiet. I still got much love for them, but I'm not going to, by my silence, promote something that I believe is totally fictional. We're going to be talking about star forts. They do fit perfectly in the historical record. Once you understand exactly why those constructions were made and at the locations they were made, you're going to get it. You're going to get it 100%. They may have some cymatic value. They may have value as far as the locations that they were given, maybe being on ley lines. Many European cities, their locations were chosen because of an ancient infrastructure that's no longer intact. These ley lines, these power lines that are underneath the substrate of whatever civilization that left them behind. We still have traces of them in the position of dolmens and cromlechs, standing stones. Sacred sites. Churches took over pagan sanctuaries and temples and built their own churches and cathedrals and basilicas, and even monuments all over these ancient sites. The places don't necessarily change, but the utility does according to the needs of the culture. Star Fort, it's going down. All right. Glad you guys could join me today. I was going to wait and do a live video tomorrow, but circumstances prevailed. I'm going to go ahead and go today. I've been posting on X for the past week. Got a lot of stuff on there. I plan on doing a lot more. I've spent about 9 or 10 days reorganizing 4 terabytes full of data. My images, my PDFs, my PDF libraries, all my charts, my files, my old book citations on different topics have all been in disarray. They're kind of in disarray as well in the drives that I've sold. So I'm reorganizing everything, and I have so much new stuff, and I have it now so perfect, but it takes about 14 hours for my 4 terabyte drive to it's got so, and I did it to myself because many of my videos are in 4K, but it's been a chore. But yesterday I finished reorganizing a lifetime's worth of data. Man, I've got files now on Gobekli Tepe, on handbags, on Anuna, on charts for some detail specific stuff. And that's what led to the Star Fort video was going through. And many videos that you have coming as a result of this reorganization. I was able to go through hundreds, even thousands of files and open up files and then find files hidden in files. And I was able to put everything where they go. And I just noticed a lot of very curious things in my Star Forts files. Over the years, I've been putting these together, but I never put a video together. And I was like, wow. And then Martin and I and Danny of the Unfuckers group, the 3 of us, we have all exchanged our own thumb drives that were packed with all, I had like 12,000 images out of the Archaix library. Big John took all these pictures out of all my old books. And I had given those to Martin and Danny. And I have them for sale now on my Shopify site. But in exchange, Martin had given me some images. I've never looked at them. So in the past 5 or 6 days, I was going through all these images that Martin had, and a lot of them I can't use because they have no context. I don't know their provenance. I don't know anything about these images, where they came from, but still, there was a lot of them that I could use. And about a good 75% of the images you'll see in this video, I received from Martin. Now, the 25% that are going to actually show you where star forts fit in the historical, that's all mine. This is all my data. This is all my information. But yeah, it's just one topic. If we're going to grow as a community, we have got to set aside all the fantasy and all the myth. If we're going to get to the real mysteries of history, such as the Phoenix phenomenon, and there's other phenomena as well that's absolutely real, Fortean materials. But if we're going to get to the actual truth of who we are and where we're going, we've got things we must remove from the field. So we're doing that today. We're going to show what the star forts were about. Best way to do it is to get right on into it and start showing you pictures so we're all on the same page before I start blowing your mind. Let's see what we're talking about when we're talking about star forts. Let's look at actual photographs, aerial photographs of star forts before we go into the historical books and see what our predecessors drew and illustrated and what it meant to them. So no real announcements. I'm still putting together my I don't have, I guess I did most of them. I don't have very many people on the Archaix ads, the errant ads. I think I saw 4 more people, and I have to get some information from them before I put their ads on. Make sure that music they have is copyrighted or doesn't need a copyright, and also no one's really contacted me since I said it on YouTube. So I think I've cleared most of my list except for these 4 people. If you were already scheduled to have an errant ad and I haven't aired it yet, you need to contact one of my emails. I have many emails. Archaix138@gmail.com is the best one. I understand John Levy, Martin Leakey, autodidactic. I don't really know John Levy. I really don't have any dealings with him at all. I don't know him personally. I did invite him to come to San Diego when I had Autodidactic and Martin and Logan of Decode Your Reality, that he came to my event, and so did several other people like Danny of the Unfuckers, and so did Max Egan was there in the house with us, and he spoke. I had like 9 speakers at my San Diego deal, and I had invited John Levy as well. I believe I have invited Robert PSYFR as well in the past, but I didn't have his personal contact information. But I know many people had sent him emails saying, hey, man, you got an open invitation. A lot of people have never responded, and I get it. I'm cool with that. A lot of people will never get past. They'll just never get past that when I was 17 years old, I was involved in some major crimes that sent me to prison. You know what? I don't give a damn. Hell, I got the Christian whistleblower Jeffrey Daugherty right now on X calling for my death. I don't care. I was 17 and I still fight like a 17-year-old if there's anybody out there in the field that's got an issue with it. Jeffrey Daugherty is a clown, the Christian whistleblower. No one's really even listening to him. So not worried about it, but somebody drew it to my attention. I kind of disbelieved it. So I looked on X and I couldn't even believe it. Wow, the dude is telling people, man, that I need to die and somebody needs to kill me. Wow. So there's a lot of people who have brought star forts into the field and have educated us on different aspects of it, but I'm a chronologist. This isn't about Martin Leakey's discovery about how the design has a lot to do with schematics. This isn't about Michelle Gibson's ideas that the star forts are a part of a vast network. None of that matters to me, because what I'm going to present isn't going to nullify any of their findings. I'm a chronologist. I'm going to show you exactly where they fit into the historical record and how we can prove it and why. All the other tangential things about the star forts, that's not my area of expertise. I don't know anything about that. But I know world chronology and I know it real well. And I'm going to show you you're going to see a new chart you have never seen before, because I just designed it this morning. And it puts star forts into their historical context along with everything else. And like so many of you already know, All roads lead back to the Phoenix. So, anyway, yeah, a lot of people contributing. I think I named Michelle. I'm gonna name Michelle Gibson, Martin Leakey, Campbell, Autodidactic, and Kelly, John Levy, maybe even. Man, he just came back to the States. I really want him on my channel. He wrote 200 proofs the Earth is not a spinning ball, and I can't remember his name right now. But I know Robert PSYFR and John Levy. They've discussed star forts. I can't believe it. This dude's name is not coming to me. Like I said, Eric Dubay. Thank you, Third Space. Thank you very much. Yeah, Eric. Yeah, I would really like to have him come on my channel. It seems like a very level-headed guy. I do understand that in the past he probably had some issues with me. And you know what? I don't give a damn about no one's idiosyncrasies. I have very, very thick skin. And to really get up under my skin, you have to make me think you're about to punch me. Because other than that, you're not really going to get me to react at all. But if somebody was to punch me in public, you guys would have an awesome video to watch after that, because I'm going to beat the beep out of whoever that individual is. Because when it comes to a good penitentiary ass whooping, I'm very qualified. But yeah, daughter, he's a clown. He invited me to his channel. I did a video with him. I did a video with Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, not knowing anything about his idiosyncrasies, his little attitudes, not knowing anything about it. I thought it was a pretty good video. I didn't think much about it. I thought it was a pretty good video. 2 or 3 days later, he's demonizing me, talking bad about me. He pulled the J Dreamers on me. It's like, wow, you know how many people I've been a guest on their channel, and all of a sudden they just flipped on me 2 or 3 days later? Kind of makes me wonder who behind the scenes just offered them a bunch of money to flip. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Star forts. Let's do it. Man, you're going to love this. You're going to love this, guys, because in Archaix, we are not ignoring any mysteries. We can't, because everything must fit. We must find everything must fit within the paradigm. We cannot practice exclusions. So in Archaix, we've dealt with all the different calendars. We've dealt with the Jewish calendar. We've dealt with all these different things that are out in the field. We've dealt with Tartaria. What do we find when we did an Archaix analysis of Tartaria? What did we find? We found Phoenix. We found a 400-year-old book that literally said that the first time that Tartaria entered the historical record and was recognized by other nations as a thing was the year 1212. Well, 1212 AD was also the year when a whole bunch of children ended up coming up missing all over Europe. It is the origin of the Pied Piper of Hamelin deal. And the church and the state got together and made up a lie talking about the Children's Crusade. 1212 AD is a Phoenix phenomenon date on the 138-year periodicity of the Phoenix. We're going to hear more about the Phoenix in this video. First, let's look at star forts. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Entire screen. I am sharing it. All right. So, this is just an introduction, so we're on the same page. I don't want anyone trying to accuse me later that, oh no, Jason didn't tell you everything. He didn't show you. No, I'm not trying to hear it. This right here is an aerial view of a star fort in the winter time. The reason everything is white is obvious. It's because it's snow surrounding the star fort. It's called a star fort because of its juts and angles. This one surrounds a small city. The star fort itself has a surrounding moat. An elaborate canal works where ships can sail on. This is This is a typical star fort. Now, we're going to go through these because we're not really interested in the modern photography. I'm merely laying out a frame of reference that we can all agree that we're talking about these structures right here. These are star forts. Here's another one. Here's an aerial view of a rather simple one that since then someone has built a football field on top of. And other buildings, tennis courts and stuff. Here's a rather famous one. I've got 3 or 4 pictures of this one. This is a star fort. Please keep your fantastical fantasy interpretations and suspend your disbelief and wait, because I don't want you to get embarrassed in the comment section. This video is not going in the direction you think it's going. Star forts. It's a pretty elaborate star fort. Look how elaborate it is. It's the year 2025. These pictures were all taken in the last 10, 15 years. What does that tell you? It tells you that these structures are very, very well preserved. This is in Europe. Same one there, photograph. Some of these photographs are not very, look, this one's huge. It's like it's a whole town. It's a whole town on the inside of the star fort. I'm trying to go through these kind of fast, guys, because the actual photography here is not the point of this video. I'm just establishing that this is what we're talking about. There are hundreds of these across Europe and a few of them in North America. No two are the same. No two are the same, and that actually helps us identify what they are. The very fact that no two of them are the same. This is the same famous one I keep showing. It's just different time periods that it was photographed. It's another star fort. It's like the Pentagon. It's another picture of it. All those canal moats and waterworks. Again, surrounded by water. Right here on the edge of water. That's a real elaborate one. There it is, from about a 45-degree angle. This one's full of forest now. This is an old star fort. It's got a forest on top of it. Look at that one. There's another one. You can barely see the whole city spread out around this one. This is probably the same one. That's got a whole city inside of it. It's kind of blurry. All right. We pretty much established what we're talking about now. That one's not very big. That's a house right here. You can see the vehicles. So this gives you a really good accurate size. This is a small one. That's really blurry. That's the last one. So, star forts. We just went through the aerial photography to get an idea of what we're talking about here. We don't need to return to any of that. We're done with that. All kinds of things popping up on my computer here. All right. Let's see here. Stop sharing. I can see the chat's already going off. Jamie Robbins, my brother. You and I just are not gonna. We are not going to agree, man. I see. I've been reading your comments. You and I are just not going to agree, but that's okay. That's okay. I already knew this was going to be a polarizing video. All right. So we're going to look at some of the illustrations now. Now that we understand exactly what we're talking about, these star forts in the modern photography, checking out installations that are still very well preserved. These aren't like Sumerian ruins that are 35 feet underneath the Iraqi desert. These are things that are still on the surface, and this is what we're discussing. So let's go back and look at some of these interesting illustrations. Let me find my illustrations file. The illustrations give us way more information than modern photography does. So we're going to go through it. I'm going to share my screen again. Oh, some beautiful illustrations. We got a lot more illustrations than we did photographs. That's for damn sure. Some of them are deal. So, in this illustration of a star fort, which looks identical to some of them that we just saw from aerial photographs. Okay, the theory that they were not used for defense, that's a hard one for me to swallow, because the oldest illustrations of star forts actually show that they were for defense. But in this picture, we have a town being protected by men that are manning the walls, but there is artillery, not just catapults and scorpions and spear throwers and archers, cavalry. They have cannons. There is artillery being used against this structure. And of course, once the artillery forms a breach, this is what you have. Ground troops ready to go in. Many of the star forts are all on islands and bodies of water or on the coast. This is the one at Port Royal, Jamaica, which in 1692 the ground started vibrating and people watched each other as they sank into the ground. The buildings sank into the ground. The water jumped on the beach. Rocks and everything with weight sank into the vibrating ground. I'm pretty sure it was pretty nightmarish. But the earthquake at Port Royal, Jamaica in the year 1692, there's a star fort in this picture right here. But people literally sank into the ground during the vibrating earthquake. And then when the earthquake stopped, there was a compression of the ground and the ground solidified and suffocated those people. It's a famous quake. Port Royal, Jamaica, 1692. There is a star fort right there. So this is a military schematic of how to properly defend how sappers can build fortifications around a star fort, so they can, because the star fort is specifically designed for artillery to be able to get every angle. And I'm going to read you some stuff about star fort military mechanics. But this right here is a military diagram for sappers, where they need to put their fortifications, temporary fortifications, in order to get closer and closer and closer to the star fort, despite the star fort's defenses. Here's another military schematic describing the bastions and how they work on a star fort. Why the angles? This is an anti-siege architecture. Here is a city with its high citadel and fortress in the shape of a star fort, kind of, not quite, but the outer perimeter of the city does kind of. I mean, star forts were developmental. There were never two star forts that are the same. The reason is because they go by geography. These are specifically put here as emplacements against a watery moat for defense. Again, if you blow this one up, you can actually see the cannons. These are short cannons. I'm going to show you better pictures of them. This is a different type of warfare. This is after ballistas, scorpions, spear throwers, and Greek fire. These are cannon ports. These are batteries. And if you notice, the cannons are placed so that they can shoot along the flanks of the star fort walls for defense. Look how they're aimed. You'll see other pictures. All the cannons are aimed to shoot down the sides of the walls. That's a beautiful schematic right there. That's the star fort that was at Port Royal. This actual schematic here is dated 1792. Oh, 1732. That's the star fort you saw in the illustration earlier that was sinking in the ground. Port Royal, Jamaica. Here's another Port Royal, Jamaica. There's the star fort there. This is just another illustration of the earthquake. Everybody's sinking in the ground. The year of the quake was 1692. June 7th. This is nothing but a military schematic describing batteries. Batteries are for cannons. Like I said, no two of them are the same because it has everything to do with the local geography. Oh, we're going to get into cannons and arquebuses and flintlock mechanisms. We're going to get in. I'm going to show you old pictures of what. Listen, guys, there was a time in our history where some armies were still fighting with halberds and war axes and shields and spears, while the other army were using muskets and flintlocks and arquebuses and cannons. Yeah, we had overlap. We had cultural clash wars in Europe when different areas of Europe had different technologies. And it's all very well recorded in the historical record. Is anything? There's no stretch in this video. I don't have to make anything up. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the medieval illustrations and Renaissance illustrations where different armies using different types of technologies are fighting each other. And star forts are in the background of these images during these battles. I got some awesome pictures to show you. These are just illustrations of star forts, all within the last 300 years. The illustrations, some star forts are older, but I'm talking about the illustrations are all within the last 300 years. It's a beautiful one there. This is Argentina. Okay, this right here is this right here is before the Star Fort era. Look at the crenellated towers. This is the bulwark of European defense before star forts were needed. We're going to get to that too. Look at that. Look at that illustration there. Here's a highly stylized stone construction. There's never been a place discovered that looks like this. It's just like, oh, that's beautiful. Look at the illustrations here. Look at the penmanship, how detailed this is. It's amazing. There's a cannon. There's a cannon right here. So something got me. Martin Leakey's put out a lot of videos on the fascists, which is this thing right here, and he says it's a weapon. You see this thing right here with it has an axe, but it also has all these rods. Well, I did some digging. Because I'm like, damn, man, he's making some really good points, and I can't refute them. So I did some digging on the fascists, and I could not believe what I found. I could not believe that the very first rifles were designed this way. Instead of having a single barrel, they had a bunch of iron rods, and the rod in the middle was the explosive rod, and all the other ones were thought to like contain the explosion more. And I couldn't believe it. These things were weapons. Now, I don't know about a Thor-type weapon, a supernatural weapon that deal, but as far as being able to shoot a projectile, it was like a pistol. And these things were able to do. They packed gunpowder in there. They packed the gunpowder, and there was a way to light it, and these things actually did shoot. The problem is the bands that held all the piping together. After 2 or 3 shots, they would come loose, and then the person who kept using it as a weapon would end up blowing their hand off. So the fascists, Martin Leakey is right. The fascist was a weapon. More star. Listen, don't get discouraged if you feel like this is unconvincing. I'm just showing you old illustrations of star forts. I haven't even presented my case yet. Haven't even presented my case yet. Very elaborate architecture. Got a lot of these, so I'm trying to get through them so I can show you the illustrations that present my case. Everything needs to be analyzed chronologically. Without chronology, you have no context. So you're going to get it in this video. You're going to see exactly where they fit in and how they fit in and why. Always next to a body of water. But then again, that's even military forts today. A whole bunch of them are by naval bases are. Now look, I don't even have to present a case here. It is very obvious what these star forts are being used for. Everybody knows what these are. These are cannons. They are aiming down here to blow apart. Now these cannons, they don't shoot. The cannons that shoot along the sides of the walls, they don't shoot balls. They shoot scatter shot. Pieces of shrapnel, nails, metal, shards of rocks, salt, all kinds of stuff. Because all the soldiers trying to climb up the walls, they get hit with these cannons like a shotgun. Whole bunch of that's what these side cannons are for. It's these perimeter cannons that shoot the balls, the projectile, the explosives, incendiaries and stuff like that. But here's a star fort right here with cannons. I didn't even know this picture was here. I should have had that in another file. Again, Star Fort Island, Big Star Fort Island. And again, here's naval battle. These are ships. These are ships over here. But these ships are fighting the Star Fort, and the Star Fort, they're shooting cannons off the Star Fort. These are all cannons. Star Fort in all these pictures with cannons, the Star Forts look new. They are not old. They're not ancient constructions when the cannons were being used. Okay, again, the Star Forts are military. Look, this is military. All this is military. They are shooting long rifles. They are fighting against men in the field or are shooting the Star Fort with rifles. Oh, I got some pictures that are going to blow your minds, guys. Not really Star Fort construction. Here's a Star Fort in the middle. And again, its placement here shows that this is a military campaign. Look at all the ships. It's a naval invasion. It's a bad example. There's Star Fort, Star Fort, Star. It's a whole chain of Star Forts. It's a whole chain connected by a causeway that itself is protected. It's a whole chain of Star Forts that keeps going up. See, there's another one up here. Not a really good illustration, but you get the idea. Star Fort construction, outer perimeter wall. A rather simple Antwerp, 1585 Star Fort. This is all Star Fort construction, right there on the edge of the water. This is from 1890s. This is from an 1890s encyclopedia. More Star Fort geometry. This is all Antwerp. Now, you can't say this is a very old encyclopedia. This is all about the star fort that protects Antwerp. And it literally says right here that A are magazines, B are shell storages, C are gun rooms, D are barrack rooms, E are guard rooms, F are blockhouses. This is a military installation. Antwerp, right here. It even says it's called a citadel. This isn't an ancient ruined complex. This is a very freshly made construction. Star Fort Mound. Oh, what a beautiful illustration. Trying to get through these Star Fort pictures so we can get on, so I can get on to what I'm presenting. These are the illustrations. I've shown you the actual photographs, aerial photography of surviving star forts today that literally shows you they're not very old. Now I'm showing you the illustrations. And in the illustrations, all the star forts look very, very new. But me telling you these are military installations is not enough. You seeing the cannons and you seeing all the stuff, the military the schematics, that's not enough either. That's not enough to be taken as proof. That's why you need to hold on and let me present when I'm done showing you all these pictures. Here's another battle. Again, we have cannon batteries. Cannon batteries are being used against the Star Fort. The infantry is waiting for a breach. The infantry is over here waiting for the cannon batteries to make a breach in the Star Fort. It's critical for you to understand that cannons are the ones attacking and defending these Star Forts, and that the Star Forts are a totally new type of construction during a period of time right after when Star Forts would have never been needed. They're using big long cannons over here on the left. Now, because the cannons are such a threat, the army inside the Star Fort, as you can see here, is marching through the gates to engage. Why would they leave the safety of the Star Fort? Because they need to go kill those guys that are operating those cannons. Again, this is Breda. Man, so much detail. So much detail. Again, all detail. Star Fort. This isn't a Star Fort, it's a Star City. That type of construction goes around this entire city. Mainland. Man, how many of these pictures I got. I'm trying to get through them. This is Hamburg. It's a very elaborate construction all the way around it. Nothing ancient about this Star Fort construction. This isn't old at all. It's not dilapidated. Yeah, this is 1690 something. It's too blurry for me to see. It's 169 something. More. All right, Bethune. Trying to get through these damn Star Fort pictures. I may have put way too many pictures in here. Okay, this one's titled Plan of the Attacks of Bergen, 1747. Plan of the attack. So they drew a star fort that they plan on attacking and they were drawing up their battle plans, how they were going to siege this star fort. Here's some more. Come on, let's get through these. Man, that's crazy. So much detail. Again, this is star fort constructions around a city. They're being attacked by a navy by sea. There's a navy down here at the bottom. The navy's shooting cannons. Ground artillery is formed in batteries full of cannons. Artillery is being protected by foot soldiers and troops. There seems to be little divisions here, and a second line of assault is further back where they've built their own ramparts and they've put more cannon batteries there and all the tents of the attacking army. This is cannon warfare on the star forts. And the star forts are defending themselves with cannons. Okay, let's keep going. Again, the star fort here is military installation. This is all military down here. Military tents, barracks, military formations and squares. You guys know. Come on, man. Don't act dumb. You already know. Those of us with European descent, we always fight each other. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. That's why there's people that speak French, German, Genoan, Portuguese, people that speak English, Russian, Greek, Italian. That's why there's so many different languages. We ain't never been able to get along. Man, it's elaborate. Plein de Mons. Portsmouth. There's a date, 1762. Portsmouth. Wow. Look at that detail. 1703. Plan of Thorin. Look at that detail. Okay. This is all military here. You see these this is all soldiers. All right. So if we want to know the date of this, it specifically says Anno right there. MD. I'm going to let one of y'all do it. I'm too busy. Somebody look up Roman numerals. MD, CLV, III. That would have been a 4. MD, CLV, III. I don't know. I've never seen a Roman numeral. Something's wrong with that because Roman numerals, they don't ever put 4 like that. An I and a V is the number 4, but for some reason they put 4 there as I's. I don't know why they did that. But then again, there was a transitional time when Roman numerals were giving way to Arabic numerals. So I don't know. 1659. That's a 9. 1659. All right. This is Paris. This one gives the latitude and longitude at the top. 1682. Well, it says 1682, Frank Rich at the top, and then down at the bottom it says 1693. Maybe that's when it was. Oh, that's his name, the illustrator. Yeah, there it is. in person, executed 1693. All right, guys, bear with me. We're just trying to get through these images before take off on you. It's beautiful, beautiful illustrations. This is called the Citadel de Lille. Citadel is a military installation. Now, being a military installation does not in any way negate other theories about the star forts. Yeah, I'm not qualified to negate other people's findings on the star forts. I'm not here for that. I'm here as a chronologist. So I'm going to show you where these fit chronologically, why, and how we can prove it. There's no mystery here. It's easy to see where the star forts fit. Star forts were built and used for 350 years. I'm going to show it to you. And then, right after 350 year mark, they were of no utility no more. There was no sense in making them anymore. By the mid 1800s, it was over with. It was just a waste of time. This is the year 1648. The siege of Colchester. The siege of Colchester by Lord Fairfax, 1648. This is an army attacking a military installation. Niagara, a very primitive one, probably built by the French because the French occupied North America before we did. Look at that. There's a way down here at the south of Suffolk, way down here. It's a small fort. Look at this. That's all armies. Look at the armies that have come and arrayed themselves right here. These are military installations and are being attacked by militaries. I just saw the word in Spanish for battery. And by battery, it's not talking about fueling anything. When you line a bunch of cannons up, that's a cannon battery. Line, look at that. Wow. Amazing artwork, really, it is. There's De Lille again, this time in color. Portsmouth. The Fort of Franco or whatever. Look at that illustration. Look at the detail in these navies down here. They're shooting their cannons. So this is a naval attack against the star fort. You see all the lines? These are cannonballs. The artist drew all these lines to show where the ship cannons are landing on the star fort. How very artistic for the time. The bombardment, that's what it says up here, the bombardment in the year 1700 of Copenhagen. There's the fasci, the fascist right there, that Martin Leakey talks about all the time. That fascist was a rifle. The earliest rifles was a bunch of pipes that were all banded together, and the central pipe was packed with gunpowder and discharged. It's the fasci. He's probably the guy carrying the fascist was probably the guy that's the sound for the battle to start. But look at that, man. It's so detailed. You see all the cannon shots. You see ships in here shooting their cannons back. Yeah, you can't, the detail, it's not that detailed, but those, you can see the cannon batteries here on the end. You can see the cannons here all lined up. That's a battery. That's a battery. That's a battery. All these are batteries. Star forts, Again, here's a huge army. Look, they're shooting all their guns and cannons from way back here at their encampment. But the army itself of foot soldiers is invading the first star fort, the first defense. And they got cover fire over here with cannons. Here's an enemy battery attacking the star fort right here with cannons. And they've made a breach of the first area of the star fort. European warfare. Should be almost done with these. Look at that. Amazing. But it's all new. Every bit of that's new. This is not an ancient fortification. This is all new. Geneva. I'm getting impatient. I'm trying to get to the end of these. How many's in this damn file? You guys have seen enough of these. But if I quit showing them, you're going to feel like I cheated you. I'm going to get all that hate mail again. Oh, look, there was military there too. There it is. Military drills. Yep, cannons. You can see the cannons on the top. This star fort is absolutely full of soldiers right here. So is this one. Huh. These star forts are fighting each other. These cannons are shooting across the river at the other star fort. Yeah, I think somebody on YouTube down the line saw that in a bunch of these old photos, the word battery, and they made up a narrative that the star forts were in some way batteries. They were architectural batteries that fueled some type of network of infrastructure, some electrical grid or whatever. When the truth of it is, guys, there's nothing fantastic about it at all. Anytime you line up a bunch of artillery, it's called a battery. It's still called a battery in militaries today. So these are all military battles. That's a fosse going all the way around this one. A whole bunch of them are surrounded by water. Foot soldiers wearing a bunch of armor, they can't just walk on water. Water is a deterrent. Water makes what makes the enemy engineers have to sacrifice their lives a lot in order to get in there and build things while they're under fire, because the cover fire is never sufficient enough. So yeah, those moats, they're very defensible. This star fort is nothing but cannons all the way around the perimeter. It's all cannons. Another star fort. It's a weird shape. Remember, they're all different shaped because it always has to do. It's always dependent upon the architecture itself. Oh, I'm close to the end, I think. All these cannon batteries. This whole star fort perimeter. These are all cannons. That's too blurry to see. Too blurry to see. It's an old illustration. That's kind of blurry. That's not blurry. That's very detailed. Very detailed. Oh, okay. The star fort's right here, protecting the entrance to the city. It's right here. This guy's got a rifle. He's got, maybe that's a crossbow. He's about to shoot something. I don't know how that modern picture got in there. I thought I weeded those out. All right, I think we're almost done with this. That right there is just the emplacements. The earth mounds is still there. It may have never had anything on it. Very detailed right here. You can see all the gun emplacements for the batteries, where they put the cannons. All right. Man, how many pictures is this? Damn it. Where am I at? Oh my God. I didn't know I had that, man. 183 in this file. Y'all let me know if you want to see the rest of them or if you want me to move on with my presentation. Once you've seen all those star forts, you've seen them all. But it looks like I still have. Oh, I'm almost to the end. All right. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm almost to the end. That's where I was. I'm almost to the end. Just getting, there's the west. That's where I was. I got more images than I need to make my point. It's real blurry. Oh, it's a beautiful painting. The reason I wanted to show this is because this is conventional warfare before the star forts were necessary. Castles. Do you see these castles with these towers? These are called crenellations, and they allow archers to shoot down. The towers give them a tactical advantage because they're higher than the enemy, but they can shoot down. The only thing that's really at risk is their face and their arms while they're shooting. Then the crenellations allow them to shoot, discharge, hide behind the next crenellation, the next block, and no one on the ground can hurt them. They're on the top of the tower, but they're hiding behind a 6-foot high block. When they're ready, when they've notched another arrow and they're ready to shoot, they appear back in the breach, go shoot, discharge their arrow, hide behind the crenellation. This is the old style warfare, and these castles were built for this type of warfare. This is a siege, and the only way really to breach and get in is to build these siege towers. You see, this is a siege tower. They built these siege towers and they would roll them toward the walls so they can climb up. The soldiers can go up these ramps and get onto the walls and fight. It was hard to do that, so they also employed these giant battering rams. Hundreds of men would sit there and operate a ram to breach the castle deal. This was medieval warfare. But when these castles were built, there were no star forts. Another star fort. There's a star fort on a prominent mound, which would be a military outpost, right there to protect the navy. How do we know this is not an invading navy? Because of this bulwark. Look at this. This bulwark here protects these ships from the water out here. They got a little strait they can go out. There's a gate. They can go out. It's probably got a lock. But this military installation protected these ships by keeping other ships in this area out. It's pretty cool old illustrations. Vienna. You can see the cannons on those. That's a terrible illustration. Archaix. The year 1596. Look at these militaries. Look at this military. This is the year 1596. And this little makeshift star fort, a temporary star fort built by the invading army near the big star fort, is shooting cannons. Here's a battery. This is a battery of cannons shooting at the star fort. The star fort itself has its own cannons. They're discharging. Yeah, I didn't have to make anything up. There's nothing there. I don't have to suspend my disbelief. Nothing sensational about this. This is cannon warfare. We even have the dates on the documents themselves. 1602. Anno Domini 1602, December 11th. Another star fort, another European town getting invaded that's got star fort constructions. What is that? These are all ships, but they're pointing away from this star fort. Oh, these cannons. Look at all these cannons. Whole thing, the whole star fort's full of cannons. On this causeway. Wow. You got to go through a whole lot to invade this. These are ships all lined up forming a bridge. They're waiting to be attacked or something. Oh, there it is. And there's the actual attack. Enemy ships are all burning out. Look at it. They're shooting and burning. Ha, they got creative. Show little guys blowing up in the air. Poor souls. Almost done. Oh, some beautiful paintings of cannons there. Attacking the star fort. Star fort's got a cannon, shooting a cannon. Ostend, the year 1602. Another battle, attacking another star fort. 1603. Man, I thought I was near the end. Oh, that is the end. That's the last picture. No more arrow here. That's it. That's amazing right there. So there's no mistaking the actual timing. So there's no mistaking the actual timing of the actual pictures. We have coins dated to the same period from the 1500s, 1600s, and 1700s that show star forts. There's star fort constructions here. 1709, star fort construction. That's a pretty elaborate star fort there. Again, star fort construction. Can't miss it. So he's handing her an oculus, like a monocular, a telescope. She's offering him a crown. The gesture literally means that for her vision, he can be ruler if he does what she shows. I'm assuming that's a female. But for her foresight in designing this, if he follows it, he'll be king. He'll be ruler. Or he was made king because he followed her advice. You got a detail. Star Fort. These coins are from the 16 and 1700s. Okay, this coin's very important, guys, because it shows the star forts in their capacity as cannon batteries. What are those at the bottom? That is a battery. In military parlance, anytime you have multiple cannons in the same station, it is a battery. St. Petersburg. It's a beautiful coin. All right. So you've seen those. That's just amazing. Well, I look at that. Let's see. So, you guys know that in my research, in 522 AD to 538 AD, the Justinian plague darkness period, it is the only year in all of world history, going back 10,000 years into the past and 10,000 years into the future. It is the only year that the phoenix moving every 138 years appearing in our sky. Every 792 years, Nemesis X appears in our sky, going 10,000 years into the past, 10,000 years into the future. 522 AD is the only year that both of those objects appear at the exact same time. It's the only time. Yeah, I mean, excuse me, in the exact same year. One appears in May, the other one appears in November. This is the Phoenix object, Typhon, and the Nemesis X object, Zechariah Sitchin likes to call Nibiru. Now, 522 to 538 AD is a massive depopulation of the entire world. It started the Dark Ages. We're not going to get into it in this video. I've already got too much data on this. You can go to my Phoenix phenomenon presentation. But for 16 years of earthquakes, volcanic activity, the sun going dark, plagues, starvation, mass panic, violence, just mass disappearances of populations. For 16 years this happened. And the world was a very different place by 540 AD. It was the exact same time that something from the sky fell upon ancient Britain and destroyed it. Many things happened all over the world, but it started the Dark Ages, and it was a very long period of time. It was over 400 years before. We barely developed. For 400 years, we were just warring clans, people living hand to mouth, and it's when Europe became the Celtic and the Teutonic tribes of Europe. That's when they began getting their identities and becoming Celtics, the Gauls, and this is when the Lombards and the Burgundians and the Angles and the Jutes and the Saxons, and this is when they all began to take on their own identities, separate from their Teutonic families, separate from their Celtic and their Gaelic families. This 400-year period was very developmental, but it was a period of back-to-back resets. And one of the worst during that period was in 936 AD. It is not one that we have covered in Archaix before. I've been waiting for the Archaix 4.0, and we're going to get into that very soon. What happened to the world in 936 and how Europe was depopulated all over again. Now, at the end of the Dark Ages, which could have ended earlier had not the Phoenix returned in 936 and basically extended the time of the Dark Ages. So we have something very curious happening in the world in the 10th to the 12th centuries AD. It saw the emergence of the classic stone castles with high walls and moats and towers. You know, you've seen them all in the movies, the Dungeons and Dragons type castles. A big old moat, a high wall, crenellated walls so the archers can fight through them. Great high towers with even more crenellations so people further up can sling stones and arrows and spears. You've seen those castles. They're not that ancient either. They started suddenly appearing all across Europe in the 10th, 11th, and 12th centuries AD. At that time, there wasn't a single star fort in the world because the star fort type architecture wasn't even necessary, and nor would it have protected people from the type of warfare that was fought in the 10th, 11th, and 12th centuries. In the 10th, 11th, and 12th centuries, stone walls replaced wooden palisades because the Gauls and the Celts and the Teutons, they all throughout Europe, their fortresses were made of wood and trees. Some of them were fire hardened. But in the 10th, 11th, and 12th, we began climbing out of the Dark Ages, entering into the Middle Ages, and suddenly we wanted to build our fortresses, castles, and capitals out of stone. Moats were either wet or dry, full of defensive ditches. Towers were initially square, providing archers and spear throwers a tactical advantage. Crenellations were the alternating blocks to shoot through and hide behind during battle. One of the very oldest castles, one of these fortified donjons is what they used to be called. Not dungeon, but donjons, is the Tower of London, finished in 1066. In the year 1066, we have one of the very first medieval castles, and it's in London. These castles had to be assaulted with wooden siege towers, battering rams, and foot soldiers with cavalries. In the year 1088, only 22 years later, the University of Bologna is founded. This is the very first official European university. It's founded in 1088 in Italy. So it's generally recognized as the very first European university. This is right at the same time that castles are being constructed for the first time in Europe. It's followed by the University of Paris in 1150 AD, then Oxford University in 1167. Then the University of Cambridge in 1209, and the University of Salamanca in 1218. At the same time, Europeans are building the old medieval type castles. All the universities first appear. Now, massive basilicas like St. Peter's in Rome were built in the 4th century AD at the height of Roman engineering. But Santa Maria Maggiore, I believe it's pronounced Maggiore, also in Rome, is a basilica, and it was built around 435. This is before the Justinian reset caused by Phoenix. And then San Vitale a Ravenna in Italy was built mid-6th century, right at the same time that the Justinian darkness took place and the world descended into a dark ages. A total collapse. Then no gigantic structures were built anymore in Europe until all of a sudden these military fortifications, these castles with these donjons, drawbridges, these moats and crenellated walls and high square towers. Later, within 200 years, they started making the towers round. So at the same time the castles are being built, the universities all start popping up. At the exact same time the castles and the universities all start popping up, all of a sudden the cathedrals appear at the exact same time. The very first and oldest three cathedrals are all called Romanesque. The cathedral in Durham, England is the oldest. Finished in 1133 AD, started in 1092 or 1093. Then the Pisa Cathedral in 1092. Then the Speyer Cathedral of Germany that was finished in 1106. We have medieval traditional castles all appearing throughout Europe at the same time as the great universities all began throughout Europe, at the same time as the three oldest cathedrals. The cathedral building begins in the 10th and 11th and the early 12th century AD. As soon as man begins emerging from the Dark Ages into the Middle Ages, he begins building everything in stone. After 400 years of making everything in wood. So this architectural style of the Romanesque, it gave way pretty fast to a more impressive one called Gothic. And in the 1140s, the Saint Denis of France Cathedral was built, the first Gothic cathedral. Then Notre Dame in Paris was finished in 1345. Just 2 years before 1/3 of the entire world's population died. Another reset connected to Phoenix, as I'm going to show you. But in 1220, Chartres, I believe, I don't know, it's a French word. I don't know how to pronounce it. Chartres Cathedral, Chartres Cathedral, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's 1220. Right before, this is just 9 years before the Roman Catholic authority butchered the Waldenses and the Cathars. So, the first universities and the first cathedrals, they all emerged together at the same time as the first castles all throughout Europe. And all of this was at the exact same time as what? What was going on at the exact same time as all this? The Crusades. The first crusade initiated in the year 1099, and the Crusades played out back and forth over and over, Christianity and Islam, for 155 years until the year 1254 AD when they ended. This was the height of the European castle building construction, the beginning of the universities, the beginning of is the castles, the universities, the cathedrals, and the wars against Islam, Europe, all at the exact same time in history, and not one star fort has yet appeared. So, from the 10th century onward, traditional castles, cathedrals, and universities are founded and built, and they begin to multiply through the 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th centuries, when there is another cessation of building activity, when 1/3 of the entire race is killed in the Great Black Death Plague, starting in 1347, but the plague ended with 1/3 of humankind dead all over the world in the Phoenix year of 1350 AD. I didn't make this up. I didn't even date any of this stuff. None of this stuff in this I'm providing you in this video is dated by me. This is all the historical record, easily verified by everyone. Now, the Phoenix chronology is mine. Every 138 years, the Phoenix appears. But it's not really mine. It was known in ancient times, as my channel shows. But the Great Black Death Plague, 2.5 years of the whole world, being afflicted, and 1/3 of humanity dying as a total systemic reset. It emptied castles, it emptied cities, it emptied ships, it emptied everything, villages, countrysides. We have many books from that period of time that tell us the harrowing details of how 10 people survived in a whole village of hundreds. How thousands of people survived when there was 100,000 people in the city. It's crazy. So The plague was over in the Phoenix year of 1350. After this Phoenix year, we suddenly have a new invention in the European world. It's a totally new invention. Gonna have to show it to you. All of a sudden, after the Great Black Death Plague, after 1/3 of the world's population dies, within 30 years after, all these cities are emptied. We have this massive reset. We have a new invention in the field. Gunpowder has been weaponized. Blunderbuss. Cannons. Cannons all appeared. Cannons were being used by 1400 AD. But it's an incident between Christianity and Islam. It's an incident that started the massive Star Fort campaign building. That's where I'm going with this. It was a war between Christianity and Islam that initiated Europe's panic into building star forts everywhere. It's because of what happened. Here's old star forts being shot with cannons. All these cannons are shooting the star forts. But you got to understand, the star forts could take that because that's what they were designed to do. Look at these old paintings. This guy's still dressed. This guy's still dressed like he's fighting in the Crusades. But they're bringing out a new apparatus. Look at these guys are medieval. They're coming out. Look at this. Look at this weapon. That's a cannon right there in the back. But I wouldn't want to be in front of this thing. This is a primitive gun. He's still dressed like a knight. He still has all the same armor, the same sword, but he has a little tactical advantage. Big cannon here. Look at that. Look at this little medieval bastard here, dressed up like he's in 933 through 934 AD. Look at him. This looks like a picture out of the Voynich manuscript. He shot that rifle. Look, they even made their rifles very, very elaborate. They decorated their rifles. Just like an 18th century toilet. Looks beautiful. Look at that dude. He's dressed like he's fighting the Crusades, but he's shooting that gun. Here's a primitive cannon. There he is, loading that cannon. Look how beautiful that cannon is. It was a work of art. Look at this old blunderbuss. I'll shoot that. I'll shoot that. Look how they made those handles back then. They didn't even understand the pistol grip concept yet. They had the handle out there like it was a weapon, like a sword. Look at that it's beautiful. Look at this guy here. He's lighting it. The other dude's holding it, aiming it. He's aiming it. Whatever they're shooting, I wouldn't want to get hit with it. Look at this guy. He's shooting a bow and arrow. He's shooting a crossbow. He's holding up a battle standard or a light. He's dressed as a knight, and this dude in the back shooting a Remington. Look at this. Taking his aim. Look at that. You can't make this shit up. That's a war wagon. How do we know? Because they got these skies on there. Look. These are like Hussite war wagons. Yeah, they're designed to rip right through a crowd. Look at this painting. They are dressed in medieval garb. They are fighting medieval style warfare. They have lances, swords, bows and arrows. They are using cavalries. However, one side is using cannons. What? One side's using cannons. Look, there's another cannon back here. Look at this cannon. Here's another cannon. You can't miss that. These are siege towers, cannons. Man, there's all kinds of stuff happening in this picture. Say, fool, didn't I see you battling in Hamburg? I thought I killed you over there. Nah, man, I got away. I fought you again at Antwerp. Oh, man, it's good to see you, man. And then stabs him in the stomach. You know what? I need to go ahead and pour me some more coffee. I hope you guys are having fun with this presentation. But I'm telling you, man, listen, in Archaix, we have got to remove the dross. If we're ever going to get anywhere in understanding the historical record and where we are at today in the year 5919, Anno Mundi, I'm telling you guys, we have got to remove the things that do not fit, and the things that do fit, we need to put them in their proper perspective. So, look at these old style cannons. Look how elaborate that metal work is. Man, this cannon here has got Arabic around it right there. I don't want to get shot with that because I don't know what kind of energy that Arabic right there is infusing into that weapon. I don't know what that's about. Look at these guys. They're dressed as knights. They're in medieval knights. Look at these guys. And they're shooting this cannon. It's crazy. I don't even want to get shot with nothing like that. Nothing that looks like that. Look, they're using crossbows. They're using crossbows, but they're also using primitive cannons against the fortifications. Do you see what they're attacking? They're attacking the old style castle architecture that the star forts replaced. Because it took about 100 years of battles throughout Europe for people to realize, oh shit, this new weapon is getting better and better and better, and our fortifications can't stand against it, and we can't defend our cities and our citadels and our navies and ports and keys. We can't defend with this type of architecture. So they quit building it. And in the historical record, the massive castle building campaign literally died at the same time that star forts first appeared. Let's get to it. Look, they're shooting cannons on the bottom, and they're still fighting with shields, swords, lances, crossbows, and in armor. Look at these. Look at these guys. These look just like Norman Knight Crusaders. Look at them. Cavalry, fully knighted up. Here's a destrier, a war horse. They're shooting cannons. It's amazing. So somebody mentioned brass in the chat just now. I'm going to let you know that the primitive cannons are used in the siege of Calais, in the battle of Crecy. It's at Crecy or Crecy. But then in the early 1400s, bronze and brass cannons started appearing all over Europe. And then the epic battle, 1453 AD, the Ottoman Turks took the great city of Constantinople. The Muslim Turks took the Christian ancient city of Constantinople, which used to be called the Greek Byzantine city. In 1453, they took this city because they used siege cannons. This was exactly the 138th year. 1453 was the 138th year since Uthman the Tartarian founded the Ottoman Empire. You can't make this shit up. I have a video on YouTube when people asked me to research Tartaria, and what I found blew my mind. Well, hell, Tartaria fits into the Phoenix phenomenon chronology perfectly. Tartaria as a word first appears on the first maps in the year 1212 AD. That's right, 1212 AD is a Phoenix year on the 138-year timeline. 1453 is the 138th year since Uthman the Tartarian founded the Ottoman Empire, which later became known as the Ottoman Empire. Can't make this shit up, guys. Learning of the fall of one of the greatest and most ancient of European Christian cities to this new weapon, the cannon, it woke Europe up to how vulnerable their existing stone castle and bastion systems were to this new formidable weapon. Suddenly, tall towers and high walls were no defense. There were no tactical advantage whatsoever against the cannon. They were actually vulnerable because they gave the cannon something to aim at. Star forts took that away from anybody invading with a cannon. The first true star fort to have ever been built, the builder was named Civita Castellana, or Castellana. Actually, no, that's the name of the city. So, yes, the city is Civita. It's the city of Castellana. Antonio Sangallo, the elder, finished the first official star fort in the year 1494. This is 2 years after the alleged discovery of America by a Jew named Cristobal Colon, who went down in history as discovering America long after the Phoenicians and the Vikings and the Goths had already been here, and the Welsh had already been here, along with, as far as Europeans go. But, and the Libyans and the Syro-Phoenicians, they'd all been here. But 1494 is the first official, in the historical record, the first official appearance of a star fort. It was specifically designed to defend against cannon warfare. The primary reason for the development was that that the traditional medieval castle walls were vulnerable to cannon fire. Star forts feature lower, thicker walls that are at extreme angles of declination. They were designed for cannons to hit them and minimize the impact because it could deflect the cannonballs. And the deflection of the cannonball would bounce away in a way it wouldn't harm what was aimed at. Star forts featured lower, thicker walls made of packed earth rather than stone to absorb the impact. So the angular bastions eliminated what are known as dead zones. The medieval castles with their high walls and they had dead zones. Once the enemy got real close to the castle, there's no way to stop them from sapping, digging tunnels under the walls or trying to breach the walls, because when you're real high up on a wall, you're susceptible to arrows, spears, and any type of missile fire, sling stones, all that. And you got an army at your face. It makes your whole situation more vulnerable. Star forts remove that from the equation because anybody approaching a star fort has to reveal their whole body. Their whole body can be seen as they climb higher, as they run higher and higher and higher. It also eliminates the possibility of a cavalry because the star forts were built in angles that horses can't maneuver. So you had to storm them on foot. They're actually genius. The star fort architecture was genius. But the design allowed defenders to use their own artillery more effectively because the cannons of the star fort were in batteries they're protected from fire. You have to hit them exactly on the cannon to destroy them. The fortification of the Star Fort normally deflected cannons, and the cannons were ripped through the air because they would hit areas around the cannons, and then the packed earth underneath the stone, the cannon would just bounce off and deflect and go. And the angles created to deflect in different areas away from the people that were operating the walls or the batteries of cannons that were being operated to defend the fortress. Star forts were built specifically to save lives against artillery. The Star Fort angles minimized attackers' targets while providing defenders maximum ability to see and shoot against attackers coming from all directions. Star Fort slopes were inclined, making cavalry absolutely ineffective. Charges had to be on foot because the horses could not negotiate these type of inclines. The age of the Star Forts lasted less than 350 years into the 1800s, when more powerful gigantic batteries, howitzers, cannons made even the Star Forts absolutely obsolete. Hand cannons, called handgonese, became more common in the 1380s. The arquebus, I showed you a picture of one earlier, but the arquebus appeared in the 1400s. This is the pirate weapon you always see in the pirate movies. The blunderbuss was the rifle. It looks like a horn. And then the arquebus was the pistol version that looks like a horn. It shot one single big lead ball. But these became widely used in the 1400s and 1500s by pirates and by militaries all over the world. So, but throughout the 14 and 1500s, they improved in reliability, because it used to be the original arquebuses and blunderbusses originally blew up on the third, fourth, or fifth charge. Yeah, the first time you put a charge in there and lit it, it would just blow up instead of shoot the ball. Yeah. There was a lot of one-handed pirates back in the day. So but these problems with the arquebus and the blunderbuss, it led to the adoption of the matchlock musket and the wheel lock mechanisms on later firearms. Then the flintlock gave us our generation of musketeers. You've all heard of the Three Musketeers. So development of the bayonet attached to the end of these new long rifles allowed musketeers to defend against cavalry and led to scenes of armies. We literally had armies of men fighting with shields and swords against men fighting with bayonets and blunderbusses. Yeah, we had different cultures in Europe, in the Middle East, at different levels of development fighting each other. Yeah, you can imagine the terror some armies felt when they heard the cannons, and then 20 seconds later, all of a sudden explosions blew apart some of their front ranks. Yeah, you can imagine the terror they felt. The transition from medieval weapons to firearms was not immediate. This was a gradual period. This is why we have medieval people fighting more technologically advanced people with cannons now, because the transition was not ubiquitous. It spread by warfare. Yeah, when countries realize, damn, we're being attacked on our frontiers by armies that are using things that make our castles obsolete, what do you think they did? They started building star forts. Yeah, the Star Fort building construction phase was frenetic. It was frenetic. Bows and crossbows continued to be used alongside the firearms until the 16th century, as early guns were often less accurate and they were slower to reload. However, guns had significant advantages in penetrating armor, and they required less training to use. You saw the pistol I showed you earlier. All you did was aim it and pull the trigger. Beautiful cannons. Look at that cannon. That dude's fixing to shoot something out the sky. There's that battle I showed you earlier. Look at these pictures, guys. I'm gonna show you a chart now. You've never seen this chart. but it puts everything into perspective. I want to look at this picture first. Look at the artwork put on these old cannons. The cannons were pieces of art. Okay, now I'm going to post this on YouTube as soon as the video's over in the community, and I'm going to post this chart also on Twitter. So the all the Archaix Facebook groups, it'll filter to all the groups. But this chart sums it up perfectly. It puts everything into its proper perspective. This is the Archaix chronological analysis of star forts in the historical record. On the far left, you can see what starts off this timeline is the depopulation of the world. 522 to 538, during that period of time, it was a total reset. 2 objects appeared that we in Archaix have documented fully. The Archaix 138-year periodicity of resets and the Nemesis X, which appears every 792 years. They both appeared in 522. And for 16 years, the world just fell apart. The world population plummeted, and it started what we know of as the Dark Ages, caused by Phoenix and Nemesis X. And then, as we were coming out of the Dark Ages, Phoenix put us right back in it for a little bit longer when another reset happened in 936. Then all of a sudden, look what we have. Look at all these yellow lines right here. All these yellow lines, this is what they represent. Stone Castle building period right here, 980 to 1350 AD is the Stone Castle build. That's why it's this long. Here's yellow dotted line to yellow dotted line. This is the period right here. The 1000s, the 1100s, the 1200s, the 1300s, right here. This is it. I might have went too far with that other yellow line, but you get the gist. This is the Stone Castle building period. During this period, all the universities, all the cathedrals, here they are. Universities, cathedrals, stone castles, and the Crusades, all built at the same time, all engaged in at the same time, Christianity versus Islam, right here. Where did our universities come from? We took a whole bunch of that material from the Arabic universities in the Middle East in the Crusades. Most people don't know this. But during the Dark Ages, Europe fell into almost 100% illiteracy. In the Crusades, the Norman Knights brought back trains full of books taken from all the cities that we had defeated from the Crusade Wars. When Christians defeated the Muslim fortresses and all that, they brought their libraries back to Europe. This is why Europe adopted the Arabic numeral system. This is why we don't use the Roman numerals no more. We brought a lot of stuff back from the Crusades, including their arithmetic. Yeah, Windhammer, you're on the wrong channel, bro. Windhammer said we don't even know what the true timeline is. You don't know it. We've got an overwhelming amount of information to show that this is the year 5919 Anno Mundi, and that the timeline began in 5239 BC. And it comes with all kinds of challenges to debate. I have no problem embarrassing people. Got a lot of people that disbelieve me, but when it comes to that debate, they just shut the hell up. Here it is right here, guys. The universities, the cathedrals, all the traditional stone castles all appeared at the same time, and it was during the Crusades. It's all right here. I'm talking about the first universities and the first cathedrals. It's all right here. We emerged out of the Dark Ages. Then the world is reset. 1347 to 1350, which is a Phoenix year. The Great Black Death Plague kills 1/3 of the human race. Total reset. 30 years later, the first pistol kills the first man. About 20 years after that, we're already manufacturing cannons. Cannons and the printing press go hand in hand. Here it is. You see this yellow circle? This yellow circle represents when star forts first appeared and how long they were of utility before heavy artillery in the mid-1800s from the Prussian wars and the German wars of the 1800s completely made star forts obsolete. They were no more good because of the weapons had become so advanced they were of no protection. So nobody built star forts anymore after that period. 350 years. Here's the 350 years of the star forts. It all started, star forts all started because the Muslim Turks took Constantinople, the ancient Christian city of Byzantium, Rome, of the Eastern Orthodox Empire. The capital of the Eastern Orthodox Empire, Constantinople, fell in 1453 to the Muslim Turks. And the rest of Europe panicked because they took the city with cannons. That's my presentation, guys. That's it. Whether these are energy harvesting places, whether whether the word battery, cannon batteries, are a play on words and people think that they're actually energizing areas, none of that has anything to do with my presentation. I'm only showing you the chronological placement of star forts in the historical record. I will publish this chart, guys, on X and on YouTube community. Also, links are in the description box. A lot of you have been asking about Chronicon on Twitter. Listen, guys, it's in the description box. Or you can go to my website. Chronicon is matter of fact, I got 400 chronological charts that come with Chronicon when you order Chronicon now. These are PDF downloads, so you get them instantly when you order them. The link's in the description box. Also, yeah, we open source PSYFR, so you don't have to send me any more emails asking me if PSYFR, if it's too late. It's never too late. It's never too late. We open sourced it, and we got all kinds of things going on in the PSYFR group now. From everything, we're running predictions on everything you can imagine. But that's a closed group. You want to know more about PSYFR? There's an email in the description box. But yeah, since we open sourced it, yeah, it's a totally different scenario now. My other announcement, I don't think I have one. I don't have one. I'm still alive. Tell Jeffrey Daughtery that I'm still alive. I know he's upset about that, but I got 500 more videos than me at any given time. So if that man's going to have me killed, he needs to get to it. He needs to get to it. Until later, guys, I love you, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. And I don't mean to step on any toes. This was nothing but a chronological presentation. It does not annul anything else that star forts could have been used for, any utility or any other advanced technologies that were operating at those facilities. But as far as their placement in the historical record, I just gave you the business. Till later, love you.